Numbers 8 from the Net Bible. Lighting the lamps. The Lord spoke to Moses, "Speak to Aaron and tell him, when you set up the lamps, the 7 lamps are to give light in front of the lampstand." And Aaron did so. He set up the lamps to face toward the front of the lampstand as the Lord commanded Moses. This is how the lampstand was made. It was beaten work in gold. From its shaft to its flowers it was beaten work, according to the pattern which the Lord had shown Moses, so he made the lampstand. The separation of the Levites. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, "Take the Levites from among the Israelites and purify them. And do this to them to purify them. Sprinkle water of purification on them. Then have them shave all their body and wash their clothes and so purify themselves. Then they are to take a young bull with its grain offering of fine flour mixed with olive oil, and you are to take a second young bull for a purification offering. You are to bring the Levites before the tent of meeting and assemble the entire community of the Israelites. Then you are to bring the Levites before the Lord, and the Israelites are to lay their hands on the Levites, and Aaron is to offer the Levites before the Lord as a wave offering from the Israelites, that they may do the work of the Lord. When the Levites lay their hands on the heads of the bulls, offer the one for a purification offering and the other for a whole burnt offering to the Lord, to make atonement for the Levites. You are to have the Levites stand before Aaron and his sons, and then offer them as a wave offering to the Lord. And so you are to separate the Levites from among the Israelites, and the Levites will be mine. After this, the Levites will go in to do the work of the tent of meeting. So you must cleanse them and offer them like a wave offering, for they are entirely given to me from among the Israelites. I have taken them for myself instead of all who opened the womb, the firstborn sons of all the Israelites. For all the firstborn males among the Israelites are mine, both humans and animals. When I destroyed all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, I set them apart for myself. So I have taken the Levites instead of all the firstborn sons among the Israelites. I have given the Levites as a gift to Aaron and his sons from among the Israelites, to do the work for the Israelites in the tent of meeting, and to make atonement for the Israelites, so there will be no plague among the Israelites when the Israelites come near the sanctuary." So Moses and Aaron and the entire community of the Israelites did this with the Levites. According to all that the Lord commanded Moses concerning the Levites, this is what the Israelites did with them. The Levites purified themselves and washed their clothing. Then Aaron presented them like a wave offering before the Lord, and Aaron made atonement for them to purify them. After this, the Levites went in to do their work in the tent of meeting before Aaron and before his sons. As the Lord had commanded Moses concerning the Levites, so they did. The work of the Levites. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, "This is what pertains to the Levites. At the age of 25 years and upward, one may begin to join the company in the work of the tent of meeting, and at the age of 50 years they must retire from performing the work and may no longer work. They may assist their colleagues in the tent of meeting to attend to needs, but they must do no work. This is the way you must establish the Levites regarding their duties." Numbers 9 from the Net Bible. Passover Regulations. The Lord spoke to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai in the 1st month of the 2nd year after they had come out of the land of Egypt. The Israelites are to observe the Passover at its appointed time. In the 14th day of this month, at twilight, you are to observe it at its appointed time. You must keep it in accordance with all its statutes and all its customs." So Moses instructed the Israelites to observe the Passover. And they observed the Passover on the 14th day of the first month at twilight in the wilderness of Sinai, in accordance with all that the Lord had commanded Moses. So the Israelites did. It happened that some men who were ceremonially defiled by the dead body of a man could not keep the Passover on that day. So they came before Moses and before Aaron on that day. And those men said to him, "We are ceremonially defiled by the dead body of a man. Why are we kept back from offering the Lord's offering at its appointed time among the Israelites?" So Moses said to them, "Remain here, and I will hear what the Lord will command concerning you." The Lord spoke to Moses, "Tell the Israelites, if any of you or of your posterity become ceremonially defiled by touching a dead body, or are on a journey far away, then he may observe the Passover to the Lord. They may observe it on the 14th day of the second month at twilight. They are to eat it with bread made without yeast and with bitter herbs. They must not leave any of it until morning, nor break any of its bones. They must observe it in accordance with every statute of the Passover. But the man who is ceremonially clean and was not on a journey and fails to keep the Passover, that person must be cut off from his people. Because he did not bring the Lord's offering at its appointed time, that man must bear his sin. If a resident foreigner lives among you and wants to keep the Passover to the Lord, he must do so according to the statute of the Passover and according to its custom. You must have the same statute for the resident foreigner and for the one who was born in the land. The leading of the Lord. On the day that the tabernacle was set up, the cloud covered the tabernacle, the tent of the testimony, and from evening until morning there was a fiery appearance over the tabernacle. This is the way it used to be continually. The cloud would cover it by day, and there was a fiery appearance by night. Whenever the cloud was taken up from the tabernacle, then, after that, the Israelites would begin their journey, and in whatever place the cloud settled, there the Israelites would make camp. At the commandment of the Lord, the Israelites would begin their journey, and at the commandment of the Lord, they would make camp. As long as the cloud remained settled over the tabernacle, they would camp. When the cloud remained over the tabernacle many days, then the Israelites obeyed the instructions of the Lord and did not journey. When the cloud remained over the tabernacle a number of days, they remained camped according to the Lord's commandment, and according to the Lord's commandment they would journey. And when the cloud remained only from evening until morning, when the cloud was taken up the following morning, then they travelled on. Whether by day or by night, when the cloud was taken up, they travelled. Whether it was for 2 days or a month or a year that the cloud prolonged its stay over the tabernacle, the Israelites remained camped without travelling. But when it was taken up, they travelled on. At the commandment of the Lord they camped, and at the commandment of the Lord they travelled on. They kept the instructions of the Lord according to the commandment of the Lord by the authority of Moses. Proverbs 5 from the Net Bible. Admonition to avoid seduction to evil. My child, be attentive to my wisdom. Pay close attention to my understanding in order to safeguard discretion and that your lips may guard knowledge. For the lips of the adulterous woman drip honey, and her seductive words are smoother than olive oil, but in the end she is bitter as wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword. Her feet go down to death. Her steps lead straight to the grave. Lest she should make level the path leading to life, her paths are unstable, but she does not know it. So now, children, listen to me. Do not turn aside from the words I speak. Keep yourself far from her, and do not go near the door of her house, lest you give your vigour to others and your years to a cruel person, lest strangers devour your strength and your labour benefit another man's house. And at the end of your life you will groan when your flesh and your body are wasted away. And you will say, how I hated discipline, my heart spurned reproof, for I did not obey my teachers, and I did not heed my instructors. I almost came to complete ruin in the midst of the whole congregation. Drink water from your own cistern, and running water from your own well. Should your springs be dispersed outside, your streams of water in the wide plazas? Let them be for yourself alone, and not for strangers with you. May your fountain be blessed, and may you rejoice in your young wife, a loving doe, a graceful deer. May her breast satisfy you at all times. May you be captivated by her love always. But why should you be captivated, my son, by an adulteress, and embrace the bosom of a different woman? For the days of a person are in front of the Lord's eyes, and the Lord weighs all that person's paths. The wicked will be captured by his own iniquities, and he will be held by the cords of his own sin. He will die because there was no discipline. Because of the greatness of his folly, he will reel. Luke 19 from the Net Bible. Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through it. Now a man named Zacchaeus was there. He was a chief tax collector and was rich. He was trying to get a look at Jesus, but being a short man he could not see over the crowd. So he ran on ahead and climbed up into a sycamore tree to see him, because Jesus was going to pass that way. And when Jesus came to that place, he looked up and said to him, Zacchaeus, come down quickly, because I must stay at your house today. So he came down quickly and welcomed Jesus joyfully. And when the people saw it, they all complained, he has gone in to be the guest of a man who is a sinner. But Zacchaeus stopped and said to the Lord, look, Lord, half of my possessions I now give to the poor, and if I have cheated anyone of anything, I am paying back 4 times as much. Then Jesus said to him, today salvation has come to this household, because he too is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost. The parable of the 10 minas. While the people were listening to these things, Jesus proceeded to tell a parable, because he was near to Jerusalem and because they thought that the kingdom of God was going to appear immediately. Therefore he said, a nobleman went to a distant country to receive for himself a kingdom and then return. And he summoned 10 of his slaves, gave them 10 minas, and said to them, do business with these until I come back. But his citizens hated him and sent a delegation after him, saying, we do not want this man to be king over us. When he returned, after receiving the kingdom, he summoned these slaves to whom he had given the money. He wanted to know how much they had earned by trading. So the first one came before him and said, sir, your mina has made 10 minas more. And the king said to him, well done, good slave. Because you have been faithful in a very small matter, you will have authority over 10 cities. Then the second one came and said, sir, your mina has made 5 minas. So the king said to him, and you are to be over 5 cities. Then another slave came and said, sir, here is your mina that I put away for safekeeping in a piece of cloth, for I was afraid of you, because you are a severe man. You withdraw what you did not deposit, and reap what you did not sow. The king said to him, I will judge you by your own words, you wicked slave. So you knew, did you, that I was a severe man, withdrawing what I didn't deposit and reaping what I didn't sow? Why then didn't you put my money in the bank, so that when I returned I could have collected it with interest?" And he said to his attendants, "Take the mina from him and give it to the one who has 10. But they said to him, "Sir, he has 10 minas already." "I tell you that everyone who has will be given more, but from the one who does not have, even what he has will be taken away. But as for these enemies of mine, who did not want me to be their king, bring them here and slaughter them in front of me." The triumphal entry. After Jesus had said this, he continued on ahead, going up to Jerusalem. Now when he approached Bethphage and Bethany, at the place called the Mount of Olives, he sent 2 of the disciples, telling them, "Go to the village ahead of you. When you enter it, you will find a colt tied there that has never been ridden. Untie it and bring it here. If anyone asks you, 'Why are you untying it?' just say, 'The Lord needs it.'" So those who were sent ahead found it exactly as he had told them. As they were untying the colt, its owners asked them, "Why are you untying that colt?" They replied, "The Lord needs it." Then they brought it to Jesus, threw their cloaks on the colt, and had Jesus get on it. As he rode along, they spread their cloaks on the road. As he approached the road leading down from the Mount of Olives, the whole crowd of his disciples began to rejoice and praise God with a loud voice for all the mighty works they had seen. "Blessed is the King who comes in the name of the Lord. Peace in heaven and glory in the highest." But some of the Pharisees in the crowd said to him, "Teacher, rebuke your disciples." He answered, "I tell you, if they keep silent, the very stones will cry out." Jesus weeps for Jerusalem under judgment. Now when Jesus approached and saw the city, he wept over it, saying, "If you had only known on this day, even you, the things that make for peace, but now they are hidden from your eyes. For the days will come upon you when your enemies will build an embankment against you and surround you and close in on you from every side. They will demolish you, you and your children within your walls, and they will not leave within you one stone on top of another, because you did not recognize the time of your visitation from God." Cleansing the temple. Then Jesus entered the temple courts and began to drive out those who were selling things there, saying to them, "It is written, 'My house will be a house of prayer,' but you have turned it into a den of robbers." Jesus was teaching daily in the temple courts. The chief priests and the experts in the law and the prominent leaders among the people were seeking to assassinate him, but they could not find a way to do it, for all the people hung on his words.